Well, we're back in Vegas for the second hour. We're exactly 4 hours away from the draft, and we have had a blast today talking to some of the best college football coaches in the country. We had Dan Lanning on earlier, the defensive coordinator from Georgia, who's now the head coach at Oregon, and we welcome back to our program Coach Luke Fickell of Cincinnati. We had the opportunity to talk to Coach at the national championship game, and we watched you in the national semifinals out in Arlington. It's great to see you, Coach.
I appreciate it. It's better to be back on a different terms. You know, you didn't want to be that. I didn't want to be with you, but you know, you're not playing in the game. You got beat, so you get invited to come and talk. Yeah. So this is a better opportunity.
Well, thank you. It's really good to see you. And again, I was talking about something the other day, and I was still in awe of what Cincinnati did last year. And I know that you came very close the year before, but what has it meant for your program to have done what a lot of people thought was impossible for a school like yours to get to the national semifinals?
Well, it's always unique because, you know, you go into these recruiting situations and your own kids. Once you get them there, then you got to recruit them and you know, kind of build the minds for what you expect. And you know, we always talk about, hey, show me as opposed to just tell me, right? And when you're first starting a program, you're selling a dream. And then when all of a sudden the dreams start to become a reality, to me it's a little bit easier for a lot of those guys to see. And for us, that's what it's, I think, done for the program and a lot of our kids in the locker room, that those things that we were kind of talking about and, you know, hey, you got to believe in this, and if you come here, we can do this. And then all of a sudden it becomes a reality that it, you know, you get a lot more interest, you get your guys, even some more buy-in to not that we needed more buy-in, but it just, you know, it's gratifying in a lot of ways for all of us as a coaching staff. But it's even more gratifying for those kids to see, you know, when they believe in what it is they're doing and believe in what it is that we're telling them, things can happen like that.
And to piggyback off of that, Coach, you have tonight, which is a critically important night. The projections are you'll have one definitely in the first round, maybe two, depending on the checkerboard or the chessboard. Talk about this night as well, because Cincinnati will be mentioned quite often and very early.
It is. It's a huge night. I mean, it's a huge weekend for us, for our program, for our kids. But tonight in particular, you know, with obviously Ahmad Gardner, hopefully, you know, could be the highest drafted guy in Cincinnati history. Goes all the way back to Greg Cook, who was the fifth player taken, I think, the '69 or '68 draft.
Back in my heyday.
Yeah. So we're hopeful. But more than anything, it's that same thing. It's the reality of the things that you've been, you know, kind of preaching for 5 years about. You know, it's amazing what can happen, you know, when you do things together, when you have success as a team that gives you a greater opportunity, a greater stage. And as you know, sometimes that, you know, when they try to say, hey, what's going to give a guy like Ahmad Gardner the chance to become a top 5 or 10 pick? Well, to be honest, he probably had to play against Alabama. He probably had to play against Georgia. He probably had to have some of those games where they could actually say, okay, well, maybe he wasn't playing against the #1 wide receiver in the country all the time. And when they do get those opportunities, you can see, you know, I think it gives them a chance to separate.
And on top of all that, Coach Fickell, here you are about to go into another league. I know you're still in that awkward phase.
Man without a home.
But from a recruiting standpoint, it is all moving forward. I mean, you've got a lot of adrenaline pumped into this program right now. What's the Big 12 look like for Cincinnati?
Well, I haven't spent a whole lot of time trying to look at that. I mean, we've got a year or so to go here, and there's a lot of things obviously that have come down the pipe here in the last, you know, even year or even 6 months with a lot of other things that are going on in college football. But
we'll get to those.
Yeah, but more importantly, I think that it's one of those things in recruiting that just, you know, you're still trying to sell that dream and that vision. And for us, more than anything, it's the ability to grow our program. And by going, you know, to the Big 12, it gives us a chance to continue to grow our program. Not that we weren't growing before, but even with facilities and things like that we believed in and we knew that had to happen. But all of a sudden, when the whole program, when the university and everything starts to see the growth and what can happen by going to another league, I think you get a lot more of that buy-in. So there's a lot of things for our program, for our kids, just by going to the new league that are going to be really, really good for them.
With Coach Luke Fickell of the University of Cincinnati, and on that, and you can't get away from this conversation. It's talked about in private, talked to a couple of coaches already today, and And those three letters, NIL, and then you add the transfer portal to that's even cursed louder than NIL. How are you and your program dealing with this right now?
Well, this is a great time since the head coaches can't go on the road recruiting, and to say you got a grasp on what is going on, I'd like to talk to the guy that's got the grasp on it. But nonetheless, I know for us, we're trying to figure out how it fits our program and how's this going to give us an opportunity for our kids to continue to move forward. How's it going to give us a chance to grow our program, make sure our kids are taken care of. So I think everybody's a little bit different on what they're going to do with it, how it's going to go, being the kind of the first year. But I think for us, I think we spent a lot of time. We've got a really good plan moving forward here. We're going to really try to keep this as a utopia and make sure we can try to take care of everybody. I want to preserve our locker room as best we possibly can. And to me, that's a way to get everybody on our team involved in some version of what we would consider our NIL program.
I mentioned the portal, and some coaches say the portal is what's keeping them up late at night when you add NIL as an incentive. How do you deal with that? You recruit, you guys recruit constantly, every day of the year. You get players on your campus, and then you have to keep them there.
Well, we've been very fortunate. It's success can do that to you. I mean, we probably only had a couple kids go into the portal. And for me, sometimes there are good reasons to go into the portal. There's guys that need new starts, and there's new opportunities and things like that. But I think it's the same thing. You got to use it for what you feel like it's best for your program. For us, it's not something we feel like we want to continue to build upon. We signed 24 high school kids 2 years ago. We signed 19 high school kids this year. Next year we want to sign at least 20, 22 high school kids. We still believe that our program is built through high school kids, and we fill some gaps. We have our own little matrix to say, okay, if someone's going to come in here that doesn't come out of high school, then they've got to fit a little bit of a matrix, because again, this for us, the ability to keep our locker room the right way for what we believe is going to give us success, I think it makes it a little bit difficult if you're using the portal for us in a different way. So it's been pretty good for us. We've hit it really, really good with some guys that might be called tonight, or not, maybe not tonight, but in this weekend. But again, it is something that does keep me up, but it's just navigating what's best for our program.
Some of the top coaches in football, and you certainly are one of them, winning National Coach of the Year award, have talked about it making college football less sustainable in the future. And I know you can't be concerned with what the product looks like down the road, but your thoughts on what is the next step for the sport?
Well, we'll figure out who that next maybe president of the NCAA is. I've got some thoughts. I'm not going to shoot them out here right now, but I think we're at a crossroads really in collegiate athletics, and which direction do we go? We're surely not going to stay straight, right? It's not going to be the same thing that I knew when I played, or even what we knew maybe 5-6 years ago. I think we're at a real crossroads to figure out which direction we go, and really we kind of got to figure out who's going to lead us in that direction.
Without mentioning specifically, what type of person should lead? The former president, the current president, about to be former, was a college president, and that seems to be where they have been comfortable with in the past.
Well, maybe we can find someone that's got a background in all of it. I don't know. I think that someone's got to have a real background in athletics. I do think that it's completely different. Dynamics on a campus with all that's going on, with the people that really help these student athletes, these 18 to 22-year-olds. I mean, you want them to take that love and care and like their own child, and it's hard sometimes when money becomes involved. So I just think that we've got to have somebody that's got a background and understanding what locker rooms are like, all locker rooms, not just football, all locker rooms, male and female. What really, as a whole, what direction do we want to go with college athletics? Is it going to be more towards semi-pro sports? Is it going to try to stick in some way of being a, what we know as an amateur of some sorts, and help guide us in that direction and get control over all the different things that continue to pop up with, between the politics and the changing of all that's going on.
We're talking to Coach Luke Fickell. Coach, I know coaches, especially you, don't like talking about themselves because you're a coach of a lot of players, but it has been truly remarkable from a distance to watch and see what you have accomplished. Now, I know there really is very little time to stop and reflect. But there has had to have been a moment or two. I mean, you've gotten every award there is. You've accomplished things that no one thought was possible. What has it been like for you?
I try not to. I think that my wife reminds me of that. She reminded me tonight as I left, or today as I left, to make sure you try to enjoy this, and brought Coach Collins, our strength coach, with us because he's the only chance I have to probably enjoy it, because he'll keep me in, trying to enjoy and recognizing all these things that are happening. But I think when I went to the Senior Bowl and we had, I think, 6 or 7 guys, could have had 8 guys there, to see those guys there, to see how they kind of hung out, they were so excited to see a group of us come down. That was one of those moments where I was just like, I want to smile. As we got back on a plane, then you're like, okay, well, now we don't have those guys. Then the combine moment or our pro day moment was one of those ones where, our first couple years there, we might have had a couple scouts. We were outside throwing in the snow, I think, the first year. And to see that with all the people that were there this year, it was one of those moments where take a couple deep breaths. And then I think this moment is just this weekend in general, with some of our guys seeing a lot of their, what I would say, dreams, but their passions are going to be able to come true. And it's a great example to our entire program and our community and our university.
Coach, it's great to have you here. And by the way, you must have a remarkable wife. I don't know any woman in the history of mankind who's ever told her husband on the way to Vegas, enjoy yourself.
Well, I've never actually been here very often. One time as for recruiting, but yeah, you know what? I do. I'm pretty fortunate in that way.
A lot of men are going, man, where do you find one? Coach, it's always good to see you, and thanks for making time to come by.
Paul, I appreciate it. Thanks for having me.
Oh, what a pleasure. Coach Luke Fickell, nice enough to join us. We've had a fantastic time already. We're a long way from done. We have some major coaches and important people that will be part of the draft joining us as we are live in Las Vegas.